Hi everyone, welcome to the future of visual effects. My name is Ryan Cunningham. I am the executive producer of PowerHouse Visual Effects.
And hello, I'm Ed Mendez, the Senior Visual Effects Supervisor of PowerHouse VFX.
So today we wanted to kind of catch you up to speed on what PowerHouse has been up to. The way that we've sort of organized our discussion today is to talk a little bit about PowerHouse, how we were set up pre-pandemic, how we have sort of worked through the pandemic, and if you can call right now sort of post-pandemic, what that looks like, as well as how we're planning on growing with AWS for the future of PowerHouse.
All right, about PowerHouse. I'm also one of the founders of PowerHouse, and in 2017, we teamed up with a post facility called 1619 in New York City. My background is in feature film, but I really wanted to push bringing that quality into the episodic timeline. And talking with artists, clients, producers, basically the VFX industry in New York, there was really a need to have a higher end boutique VFX house in the city. And I really wanted to build a place that was safe for everyone to work, where we could get the technologists, the artists, production teams together to innovate and also create beautiful imagery. Okay, now we're going to take a look at our demo reel showcasing some of our visual effects. A lot of times we get to work directly with the directors and showrunners on the show, showcasing our visual effects, the CG, set extensions, simulations, environmental work, paint work. A lot of times when we're part of the production, we work with the department heads, work with the special effects team, the stunts teams, get on set, shoot the references that we need to really set the tone and set the look that works within the productions. What's nice is that we love getting as much as we can in camera and enhancing that. Working with the special effects team, we'll light off fireworks, do blood hits, do gunfire. Working with CG, we try to shoot the real, get the real textures of what is we're trying to create. A lot of the work we do is based in reality, photorealistic. Try to set that tone, as well as when we get the fun supernatural stuff as well within this. As you can see, there's a gamut of work that comes through. Some of our environments are CG within this. Examples of showing these flip books on this. We reference real flip books, work with the designer who actually creates real flip books. We want to make sure that the animation was realistic, our rigs were realistic, something that was based in real life, and working with the creative team. And it really goes a long way within the believability of these type of visual effects. And showcasing a lot of times we are also working on seasonal work, environmental work, especially working in the Northeast. We have the seasons. A lot of times we're doing summer for winter, winter for summer, flipping that around. And because of COVID, a lot of schedules got changed, so we also do a lot of that work now, a little bit more than we were doing before. We also get to work on some, the traditional green screen, blue screen shots, and then here's some more seasonal work showing where we created snow simulations as well as a blackout on a show.
So which kind of brings us to how we were set up pre-pandemic, and I know Ed briefly spoke about sort of the founding of the company in 2017 and just sort of our workflow. So as a studio, we followed a very traditional on-premises workflow. We were a smaller office with roughly 20 to 25 artists at any given time on average, ranging in 2D to 3D. Everything again was just on-prem, so we were physically in the office, our workstations, our render farm, and ultimately the scalability and size of our company was limited to square footage. So as you can see here, this is just some of our crew. We broke it up into different departments, and we had rows of 4 to 5 people. This was a shot that was taken while we were working on glass and delivering glass in January. And so you can see here, this is some more of our team. This is right around the exact same time that we delivered glass for M. Night Shyamalan. So a lot of the crew here is still a part of PowerHouse today. So again, we were finishing up glass in 2018. That was whenever I had joined PowerHouse. We really were focused on, as Ed mentioned, trying to create a culture and environment that was safe for artists, and a place where we could all sort of collaborate and work together. And that was one of the big selling points for myself personally in coming to join PowerHouse. And we were able to work on some really cool shows, as you can see here: The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Servant. We worked on the Purge series, and again, maintaining sort of the 25-ish artists as far as our overall team size.
And then in 2019, we started to grow. You can see we got to about 50 artists. We had multiple shows, some bigger shows. I was on set in Philadelphia working on dispatches from elsewhere, working directly with Jason Segel and the showrunner, telling this kind of like supernatural, but based in the real world, hyper reality show. And it was a lot of fun to work on, again, being within the environment of working with the showrunners, directors, all the department heads, trying to figure out how we were going to visually tell the story of kind of like the imagination, this imaginary world that was elsewhere. And then what I really enjoyed was coming back and working with the artists in the studio and kind of creating this imagery that we did. We also had Homecoming, Evil, but our studio was growing. We were getting bigger and bigger shows, which was a lot of fun.
So which kind of brought us towards the end of 2019. We were looking at the busiest time ever as a company, sort of 2 years in, looking ahead to a very busy 2020. And in August of 2019, we were acquired by Company 3, which has sort of granted us a tremendous opportunity to have the scalability and the size of a large company, but also maintain our sort of boutique culture, and it provided us the ability to scale. And so, looking into 2020, we were really in a position to thrive, and some of the shows that we had in-house were In the Heights, which just came out, Judas and the Black Messiah, which was, of course, just through the award season, The Mosquito Coast for Apple, Here Today with Billy Crystal and Tiffany Haddish, and we were wrapping out Servant Season 2. And so again, we were continuing to grow. We made our way up to roughly 60 artists at any given time, and we were, again, just focused on the growth of PowerHouse, which kind of brought us right into the COVID pandemic. And so one of our CG supervisors, Dan Bornstein, was actually, he went to Italy, and things were, surging over there, and we started looking at the world, and we collectively were trying to determine, what do we do? How do we prepare for any sort of shutdown, knowing that our entire office was something that required us to be physically on premises? So during this time, Ed, myself, Chris Keneally, our director of operations, we all sort of sat down and tried to start figuring out, how can we work while not being physically in the office, which, at the time was something that was sort of foreign to the visual effects industry. So we were able to, sort of transition here into working remotely.
Yeah, our initial setup was using hardware Teradici boxes, and I was kind of a test bed for that. I did have a hardware Teradici box set up at my house uh, to log into the office to review shots, because a lot of times I actually live outside Philadelphia, and our office is in New York, and I'm on set a lot. I kind of take over the Philadelphia shows, so I'm on set and being able to review stuff with the artists going remotely. So I had a little bit of start on it, but it was only set up for like one box, and we really quickly had to figure out how do we get this set up for 25, 30 machines.
Which, again, sort of led us directly into the pandemic. So in March 2020, the world sort of shut down, and as a result, we had to figure out how to run a company with going in a direction that none of us have ever worked in before. So the biggest thing we knew from the start is that we need to maintain our ability to communicate and have daily meetings, setting a schedule, having ways for our team to interact in a non-traditional way, and we were able to establish regular meetings. So in the mornings we have our daily production meetings, we have our artist meetings, we have dailies, we have our different ways in which we check in. That again was sort of a learning curve for all of us. We were traditionally used to being able to walk next door and tap somebody on the shoulder or say, hey, can we jump into this conference room and have a meeting? And knowing now that that was a thing in the past, how do we still maintain our company culture and our ability to sort of push things forward while not being easily accessible anymore? And so we really focused a lot on communication. As Ed mentioned, we had a Teradici workflow in the beginning where we were again tapping into our on-prem machines and using our render farm. And unfortunately, as we mentioned, we were limited by the size of our square footage in our office. So whether it be the cooling or the electric or any of those sort of traditional on-prem issues, we quickly realized that we needed to engage engineering and technology further than just Teradiciing into our machines, but we need scalability. And we were sort of looking at the fall and winter of 2020, understanding that, at first we were like, this is going to be a couple weeks and we'll be back in the office, so let's just try to work through it. And it quickly presented itself around June of 2020 that this wasn't going anywhere and we need to innovate. And we were able to, with the Company 3 engineering team, led by Bob Keski, as well as our internal pipeline team, really start to focus on the future and pioneering a workflow that can allow us to have scalability that isn't limited by our square footage. And so in June of 2020, a previous client of ours had reached out. They had a huge show that they wanted us to be a part of, and it sort of forced our hand into needing to choose an option that provided that scalability, which is ultimately what led us to AWS in the cloud. And so sort of here, this show was set up that it was going to be shot during the pandemic with no camera operators in the room. It was going to be lock-offs and all of these things, and it quickly escalated into a huge show called The Bite for CVS for Spectrum. So it's actually out now. But we were able to, because of our ability to scale into AWS, we were able to expand our physical footprint to the max. So we weren't limited in any way, and it originally was set up like we need to set up a cloud-based render farm so that we're able to pull an alarm if big shots or big sequences come in that require bandwidth beyond our render farm in the office. And as you can see here, we were able to deliver over 1,800 shots in 4 months at 6K with multi-layered plates. It was a really huge undertaking, which wouldn't have been possible if we didn't scale into the cloud. And as you can see here, this is the poster for the bite. Again, it's out on Spectrum right now, which sort of led us into what we sort of are in now, and it's loosely a post-pandemic world where things are starting to reopen, but again, still understanding that COVID is very alive and real, and trying to determine what type of office or what type of company we will have moving forward.
Yes, and the first quarter was basically January. We scaled up to about 65 artists, which was the biggest we've had. We delivered those 1,800 shots in 90 days. We were this fully tested, fully remote, computers, virtual workflow, virtual render farm with near zero latency. We found that we were getting better results doing the software Teradici on the virtual machines than we were off of the hardware setup. It was pretty remarkable that we were able to get this up and running. It was really, our engineering team was amazing and a leap of faith, and we kind of got backed into, we had to do it, had to make it work. It was still pretty amazing that we were able to get through that much.
Which kind of led us into quarter two of this year. We again continued our growth. We scaled to 90 artists in the cloud. Again, continuing to prioritize technology and innovation with our team. We added a handful of new team members in senior roles and in junior roles, and just continued to develop the powerhouse of the future. I think in many ways it was a testament to Ed's point, taking the risk and trying to, again, meet a client demand. We were a smaller studio who was limited, and we had an opportunity to scale, and we decided at that point that we needed to find a solution that wasn't standard. And it pushed us to, again, go into the cloud and allow for these types of things to happen. And so for the first 2 quarters of the year, we were able to work on M. Night Shyamalan's Old, which was a huge undertaking, hundreds of shots, some fully CG, set extensions, really the full scope of work there, which we became the main vendor on. We also were the sole vendor on MARE of EASTTOWN, which is out on HBO, which has been received very well by the community, as well as just by audiences around the world. And so, again, another show that really gave us a lot of opportunity to continue to grow and scale our team. And just some general stats over the first 2 quarters, we rendered over 16 million frames, submitted over 110,000 jobs to the farm. Our total job render time was 715 days. And we went from 35 artists during the pandemic and pre-pandemic to nearly over 100 artists worldwide. And so, it really is a testament to the ability to scale and what it means. And we knew that we needed to provide clients with the best working experience. And that's why we made the decision to go with AWS.
And then here are some shots or still frames from MARE of EASTTOWN. Again, this show is done entirely virtually on AWS, virtual machines, virtual cloud. I was on set, and then in post, I supervised the first episode, and then brought on Kristen Pascalito. She came on and supervised the remaining episodes 2 through 7, which was a great addition to our team. And we have a reel to kind of showcase some of this work. When I was on set, definitely worked directly with Craig Zobel and the DP and the showrunners, really trying to visually tell this story. It was special because I grew up around the Philadelphia area and currently live around Philadelphia, so it was a lot of fun to be able to shoot and showcase some of the beautiful areas in Philadelphia. But just pointing out, like, these were like full set extensions done in Nuke, virtual within this. 4K plates, multiple layers, doing full set extensions, some full CG backgrounds, Nuke workflow, and it's a pretty remarkable testament of how technology has grown, and we were able to deliver this at such a high quality. You see the seasonal work. We're using SpeedTree along with some set extensions, digital matte paintings to kind of set the scene. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, this shot over several seasons, over several years. So a lot of the seasons we're trying to match them in to feel like the fall winter area time. And we got into certain situations. For these scenes, they recast the Deacon Mark for these scenes, and we had to completely replace the actor, and going through and working with the team and reshooting over blue screen, getting that workflow within this. They were shooting on a college campus that we had to make look like several different scenes throughout Philadelphia. And we kind of get put into certain situations and try to find creative results or examples to be able to visually tell the story with this. And the main baby grew up over the COVID time, so we ended up finding old footage that we're able to bring into new scenes, as well as had a new actor that came in, and we're able to update some shots to tell the story. And then here also some COVID examples of not being able to use a vape pen on stage for safety reasons, and digitally creating that for the shots. And this is a fun shot. We actually had to stitch 3 different plates together on stage over green screen to on the exterior location, back to on stage for the interior set of this house, along with the retime, which was a fun stitching the 3 together along with the seasonal work. But we're very proud and excited to have been part of MARE of EASTTOWN.
Which sort of brings us to growing with AWS and sort of the future of PowerHouse. And so I know we've mentioned it a few times thus far, but some of the few points here that I think led us to AWS as being the way in which we plan on growing PowerHouse is, again, it adds the ability for us to have infinite scalability, no matter where you are necessarily in North America. You can access our render farm and our ability to work together. It really provides a secure network that gives both our staff as well as clients an experience that really wouldn't be possible in a traditional sense. It allows for us, as I said, to grow beyond our physical location, but no matter where you are, and necessarily wherever Company 3 has a brick and mortar, we have the ability to work in visual effects, which again lends itself to this industry being such a tax credit driven industry that we can actually expand beyond just New York, but work in Chicago, Atlanta, LA, Canada, some of the places that we've been more regularly working over the past 6 or 8 months. It's very stable and very responsive. As Ed mentioned, we have a relatively zero or near zero latency on the East Coast as well as the West Coast, and it's financially beneficial. It gives us the opportunity to, again, be able to scale beyond just the traditional sense, and maintain financially viable for the company.
And then one of the decisions that we decided was to keep our remote workflow going because of the work-life environment that it allows. A lot of our artists have families, and because of what happened with the pandemic and having to work remotely, it really opened up our eyes to being able to do this and to be able to still deliver high quality visual effects, but have a work life environment to be able to stay home, be there. Personally, I was commuting when I was going to the city 2.5 hours each way every day, so I really felt it. And being able to really changed my life, being able to be at home and work, and want to share this with as many people as possible that kind of want that work life environment. So it's really also helped us recruit artists to come in within this. Going back to why we kind of built PowerHouse, I wanted a safe environment where creative people could work together, and this kind of goes really hand in hand with that, where we can, spin up machines, add people in this, and for people that really kind of enjoy this kind of work aspect.
And again, a lot of this wouldn't have been possible without technology, obviously. And so Bob Keski, who's the Senior Vice President of Technology at Company 3, as well as the rest of his team and our pipeline team, they really set the standard for us and provided us the opportunity to do this. And so I wanted to just share a quote from him that I think is really important, and that's that visual effects requires global collaboration and instant scalability in a virtual workflow to meet client demands. And I think that's the future. I think that's where this industry's headed. We've sort of always worked with technology, but we've never really been a technology-driven industry. And I think that scaling with the cloud and having the ability to globally collaborate is something that's here to stay, and whether it be remote or it be on premises, either option, I think you need the scalability that a cloud-based workflow can offer. And so with that, I just wanted to say thank you all for tuning in. It's been a privilege to have an opportunity to speak with you all today. And again, feel free to reach out to Ed or myself if there's anything that you want to follow up with. If you have questions about, we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So thank you very much.
Thank you.